all of these start with us laughing or smiling.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Yeah.
It's not intentional, but I was thinking about some of the ones we filmed, and I'm like, we all start laughing.
It's just the nature of
I didn't want to have a formal beginning of like, welcome to our podcast.
Yeah,
it just
right?
feels,
Yeah.
I want it to be honest.
I love it. Yeah. A laugh is there.
Let's talk a little bit about your history and what brought you to Arizona.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised here. So I grew up in Arizona in the desert. And I have always been on stage as long as I can remember. I was dancing when I was like 3 years old. So I just always remember that being a big part of my life. So that is really kind of what got me the bug was dancing from a young age. And then decided to major in theater in school. And then did the big jump to New York. And that was my big kind of breakthrough. So
how long were you in New York?
I was in New York for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
I mean, it was incredible. New York is like the most electric city. I think everything they say about it is true. And moving there at 22 and having like a one-way ticket, I think is such an amazing experience. And I look back and I'm like, how? Like 22 is so young, and I feel like I didn't know anything.
Oh, no, I moved to New York at 17.
Okay, so you beat me there.
I beat you a little bit there. Yeah, no, but and that's why I ask people, I'm like, how did you end up there? Because there is a different feeling. And coming from, because I was born and raised in Arizona too, I feel like it's a culture shock.
Yeah.
Right when you arrive, just getting into a taxi.
Yeah.
And going, can I trust this person?
Right, and you just do, because that's just
you're like, I don't know where I'm going.
And
you get on the subway and learning the subway system. And
I know. I remember I moved there with like 2 big suitcases, which sounds like out of a like musical in itself, a musical line. But I moved there with 2 big suitcases, and I had to get to this sublet that was on the 5th floor, and it was a 5th floor walk up, and it was August, so it was like disgustingly humid with the AC, and I'm like carrying these bags. Like,
you're carrying both of them.
Yeah, and I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But that's awesome. It's like what makes
there was something so beautiful and rich about it. And probably if you go back and you remember opening the bags and setting them down and looking at all your stuff and looking around and being like, I'm here.
Yeah, like I live here now.
Yeah.
I wake up and I hear the train and I live here now.
Did you study more there? Did you just pursue the craft? Did you get an agent? What was your path those 5 years?
I was so lucky. I had an agent when I moved out there. So my university did a showcase that allowed us to perform in front of agencies and casting directors. So luckily that helped me kind of wedge my way in.
Yeah.
When I arrived, which was great. And I actually had a job set up in a new musical reading that I was starting that same week that I moved there.
Amazing.
So I think that really helped make me feel like it wasn't just,
of course,
cold turkey moving. But I felt set up there, and there were people from university that had already lived there. So it already felt like a community when I arrived.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you came back here.
I did. I came back here because the pandemic kind of threw everything for me.
Yeah. Well, you and everyone else, like that's like a big part of our lives that I think it's easy to take for granted.
Yeah.
It changed so much in our industry and all the rest of it, the world.
Yeah. And I can't pretend like that was the only reason. I think I was reaching a point in my time there where I was like, is this it? Am I going to sit on the subway regardless of if I'm on Broadway, regardless of, how successful, quote unquote, I am?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the life or the location that I want to, really create a home.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get engaged and have kids eventually, all those things that start to come up.
Of course.
So I think I was already getting to that place, and then the pandemic really just expedited it. And it made me kind of reconsider how else I can be creative or do what I love.
Yeah, that's cool. And when you came back to Arizona, initially you didn't pursue it, right?
I didn't.
You took a break?
Yeah, I think there was almost a grieving.
Yeah, of course.
Sadness.
It's like I'm giving up on my dream.
Yeah, and I hope that doesn't sound so morbid, but
I understand.
It was like almost a period of grief, because it's something that is like your identity for so long, and you are like, Maggie the actor, and then it's like you're not.
Well, I think some people, they feel, even feel like embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's like all your friends, everyone there, and they're going, "Oh wait, so you're trying to be an actor now in Arizona?" And I obviously think that's great. There's an agency here, there's work to be had here, and that's something we'll get to. But initially, when you come from a major market, you feel like it's silly,
right? Like I felt like, oh, do I even try here?
Right.
But yeah, but I'm so glad I did. Obviously,
of course.
So yeah.
How did you decide to submit to the agency?
I think I had finally just gotten to a point with like working a 9 to 5 and working still in a creative space, but not around like creatives, like around it feels like a community of, actors or in that sort of space. So I was at a point where I just was missing it, and I was missing, that camaraderie or people almost like speaking your own language, like speaking a language that you understand. So I reached out to one of my colleagues who had connections in different agencies around the Valley, and Leighton was one of the first that she mentioned, and that really stood out to me. And I spoke with Ruth on the phone, and it felt like a perfect fit. She actually reminded me of the agent that I had in New York in the way that they're right to the point, direct, professional, and that was what I wanted. And it just felt right. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was great.
And you've been doing some work since you've been here.
I have, I was really grateful. I've done one commercial that was super fun. It was set in the Italian countryside, so it was a really cool green screen like backdrop, and I hadn't.
You Italian, get out of here!
I know, I know. So it was really awesome, and I met really awesome people from the agency and just around the Valley, creatives, and then I've done some sort of like stock imagery, like model work, which is also cool because it's a fun day job that is still creative, but you're not high stakes of like saying any lines.
Of course. Do you feel like that now you get, for this stage of your life at least, the best of both worlds? Would you say?
Yeah, I really do. I think I feel so much more fulfilled because I don't have the pressure that I felt in New York of working 3 jobs, trying to pay rent, but also trying to enjoy myself and realize it's doing what I love. But I think working in this market allows me to have that stability, but I can do this more as it's fun. Like it brings the joy back into it.
Right.
And I think the joy was starting to go away when I was doing it in such a high stakes competitive environment.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an agency, we have people coming from all over.
Yeah.
And some local, some international, and everybody has a story. And I feel like we can learn from each person's story. And that's part of what this is about, sharing and inspiring others and letting everyone know this is a community where you can be transparent and tell your story and be supported.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you didn't give up on a dream. Your dream changed.
Yeah.
And as it changed, you had to evolve. You went through some growing pains.
Always.
as we all do.
Yeah.
And now here you are, and you have so many years ahead of you that you could work.
Yeah.
Particularly in a minor market like Arizona. So it's a pleasure to have you on the team, the family, the Leighton.
I know, it's awesome. It's been great being here. So I'm really excited.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story today.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you so much.
Thank you.